Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our last class. It's really exciting. Yes, we're going to go over fall planting today, garlic planting, and also winter bed preparation, and then also some season extension techniques. And then if you want to stay for a little bit afterwards, Tina has some supplies for the pickling class that we ran short 3 weeks ago because of the rain.
Yeah. So even, like, you can't, if you want to pickle again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean the supplies are here, right? You can pickle zucchini.
Yeah, I want to pickle again.
Oh, yeah. They could pickle zucchini.
Yeah, you can pickle those zucchinis over there.
Peppers?
Yeah,
No.
the banana peppers I have. I don't have any bell peppers. Okay. Alright, so where's my sheet? Ooh, it followed me.
Pickles were great, you know.
It's a good recipe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were good. They were excellent.
Okay, so at this point in the growing season, there's pretty much only like 50 really good growing days left. So if you're putting things into the ground, direct seeding without doing transplants, really quick season crops like radishes, quick carrots, beets, turnips, those kinds of crops will do really well right now without any cover whatsoever. If you want to extend your growing season a little bit more, you can use some season extension supplies that we can go over here in the handout today. But then those crops that we can get covered would be kale and Swiss chard and lettuces, broccoli and cabbages as well. All right. But if we're starting those from right at this moment, then we need to be starting them from transplants. And we have transplants available for sale this weekend. If anyone's interested, they can stop by. If you want to stop by for your garden, we can give you some transplants. Some like kale or whatever, lettuce. Yeah, we'll get there. So the season extension stuff that I'm talking about here are these larger hoops that would go over your garden bed. And you can keep these on your crops or on your garden bed for, up until January, until we get some like big heavy snow, and then like weighs it down, and then you could either clean it up or you can clean it up in the spring, kind of thing. You can make this out of PVC pipe as well. There's directions on the second page of the sizing that you'll need. And then we also have here this link here, this hobbyfarmer.com, the 5 simple steps. It's a really easy YouTube video on how to install these or how to create these things at home. But so you have you bend your EMT conduit. You have a product called row cover, which is like an insect barrier, which is really good to have for a gardener anyway, because you get a jump start in the season. And then when you're planting this time of year, you can cover your crops so that they don't get eaten by bugs. Maybe the slugs get in there. And it helps regulate the temperature throughout the rest of the season. And where'd my little clip go? A little clip. There we go. And then you can purchase these Emt Clips from Johnny's that will help secure the row cover to the pipe. And really the couple downsides of this is that because it's covered, at least for us, we tend to neglect it, so then the weeds can get really busy really quick because you don't actually see the weeds growing. And then it's just a little cumbersome to uncover it to do your harvest and then recover it again when you're done. All right. And then also another note is that you'll notice that we can start watering a lot less this time of year as the nights when they get cooler. There's less water being evaporated And since our days are also shorter, the plant is taking up less water as well. So you can actually reduce the amount of water that you're using in your garden at this moment. All right. And then, okay, so we're going to walk around. We're going to go, I'm going to show you these tunnels over here, some winter bed preparation, and so on, and move around the fields to help kind of get some inspiration of what you can start growing at home, and then also what you should be doing to put your garden bed to rest so that you have healthier soil going into the following spring.
And I'll carry this.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we're just going, we're going right over here. If you guys want to stand right here. Okay, so we have a couple. Okay, so we have a couple of stages of what's going on here. So this was a bed that had lettuce in it just earlier on Saturday, and what we've done now is we've mowed in the weeds, the annual weeds that had established themselves here. We've aerated the soil with a broad fork. So what we've done is we've disturbed the top 6 inches of the soil to allow air and water to pass through. Okay, which can be done with one of these, which you can get at different sizes of these, but then you can also just get a classic digging fork, and if you have a small area, just kind of push it down. Remember, only disturbing like the top 6 inches and lifting up. Okay?
You don't turn it over.
You don't turn it over. Next, what we'll do here is we're going to go through and we're going to pull out all of these weed roots. So we can be using a scuffle hoe or just going in there by hand, depending on the size of your garden. And then next, what we'll do is we're going to put a layer of compost on top of it. All right, so what we've done here, we've taken out all of the debris that was left behind, anything that would just like establish itself and turn the garden bed back into annual weeds, thrown a layer of compost on top of it, and now if we were later in the season, we would be putting down a cover crop, which would have been like oats or peas. Since we're still like here in the middle of August, that whole section over there is going to be red beets and scallions. All right, and then this is just a good practice to so the compost is going to like settle into the soil and kind of like reinvigorate the soil microbes going into the spring. And if we had cover crop in there, we would just have to mow that in the spring if it hadn't died over the winter.
Do you put compost on top of these weeds that will kill it, or?
No, so we'll have to pull the weeds up. So if you grew zucchini or summer squash over the course of the year, they're a really good harbor of the squash vine borer and also squash bugs. So it's really important to be removing all of this debris out of your garden bed and discarding it like not into a compost.
Debris, you mean the dead?
The dead stuff, the live leaves, the roots. I just saw the other day. Here we go. Because these eggs right here are the squash bug eggs.
Let's see. Oh.
So they'll overwinter pretty well, and then in a garden bed, you're not having a lot of space to do like proper crop rotations and things like that. So these guys will, they can accumulate over time. And, so there's two options. There's, you can just go buy zucchini, or if you really enjoy growing your own zucchini plant, it's a good practice to get all of the debris out of the garden space. And then also this time of year, it's pretty much done for the season, or at least this plant is done for the season. You could have done another section of squash, but anyway, really great time to be planting arugula and spinach by seed. So all of this, once we get it all pulled out over the next week, we'll turn it, and this will be where our where our spinach and arugula will be planted for our fall crops.
These plants still look pretty good, though, but I guess they've stopped producing.
Yeah, I'll probably give it till the end of the week, and then I have another crop planted elsewhere on the farm, and we have plenty of it in storage, so we're good. We're good. I need space. I need space in this little farm. Okay, so then we're gonna move down here and show you.
Yeah, that is asparagus. Yeah. It's always the question everybody always wants to know.
You said
Do I win a prize?
4 years
Yeah.
to grow asparagus?
4 years till you start harvesting it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then you start slowly adding your harvest weeks. So for actually next year will be the first year since it's been planted that we'll get a good 2 or 3 week harvest out of it.
Okay.
And then each year following that, I'll add a week until we get to about mid-June, and then you always stop harvesting around mid-June.
And then how
And then it'll stay for 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah, give or take,
Yeah.
depending on how well we take care of it. But I did a really neat trick this year. At the end of last season, after we cut it down and threw the compost on it, I was like, I don't like weeding that thing, so I threw down field peas and oats, and so that took over. And actually, the nitrogen that was getting fed from the field peas, it really got them to shoot up. It was kind of neat.
You cut them back in the...
Right after, around Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Do you cut them to the ground, or you leave a little?
No, I actually cut them under the ground.
Really?
Yeah, you don't want anything showing, because the little asparagus beetle will, just bore itself in there.
So you're just doing that for the roots
To establish. Yeah.
for 4 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's dedication to asparagus, that's for sure.
But you get to eat, for the home gardener, you get to eat it. It's for you, for production to
Yeah.
sell. But,
Yeah, and even that's not enough space. This is more of an education piece than
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
You need a lot of space to have some to sell.
I would be selling it to steakhouse or something.
Yeah.
Make money out of
Oh
it.
yeah, you could. So this is what our winter cabbage cropping is here. So, and then we also intercropped it with radishes. And then in the beginning of the season, there's a lot of time for successions, right? To do your 2 week intervals, 3 week intervals, that kind of thing. This time of year, it's kind of just get all of the crops that are cold hardy in the ground by the end of August, and then just kind of then you're done planting for the season for the most part. I would say kick your feet up, but that's not really what happens. But the only thing is the caterpillars start to come back. So the little green caterpillars and then the diamondback moths are going to start to become a nuisance. So you can see we're getting some damage here. And so this is all cabbage looper damage. we'll use the neem oil spray that we from the concentrate, and that usually whacks them out. Also, keeping them covered helps a little bit as well.
What was this again? The bug?
This bug is a cabbage looper.
Cabbage
It's a
looper.
green
Yeah, it's a green caterpillar.
Hard to find.
Very hard to find.
Camouflage.
Yeah, my cabbage is really small right now. I planted seeds big, like in the beginning of this month. They already have like small holes like this, so it's probably
Yes.
already.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, yeah. I mean, or you can just spray it, and then just
Yeah.
it slows it down.
Wasn't it? It's the larvae of those little white butterflies.
Mhm.
So you always see those white butterflies all over, and everybody's like, "Oh, look at these cute little butterflies."
And they're like such nuisance
Yeah.
to your brassicas. And then so out here we have this is Napa cabbage in the front, so really nice cabbage for shredding and making kimchi. And then in the back is our fall broccoli. We find in this area that broccoli does better in the fall than it does in the summertime, right? Our summer is it becomes hot so quickly around here. Broccoli doesn't really like the heat that much. So you're going to get a better harvest out of the broccoli this time of year. So you'll get a center head, and then that you normally like a crown, and then you'll get some side shoots off of it too. And then you can also just leave it in the field as a cover crop after it's done being harvested. Don't be afraid of leaving it out for a couple of frosts. Like even out through January, you can keep it up, keep it going. And again, having your soil covered is better than leaving it uncovered. So even if you get a couple of frosts and the plants kind of like died back a little bit, you could just leave it there until the spring. And then this year we tried intercropping with parsley, and that seems to be working out pretty well.
So did you say you will exchange next year? You'll have tomatoes follow kale?
Yeah, so all of the tomatoes and we won't fill up this whole section with tomatoes and just regular tomatoes and cherry tomatoes, but a good portion of the section will be. Because that would be a lot of tomatoes and cherry tomatoes. More than we can handle. Alright, we can go. So you just need 2 posts in the ground on either side of your garden bed, and then a strong support across the top. And then you just drop these strings down, and then we clip them. We use these tomato clips to clip around the string and then around the plant, and then it supports it.
Do you think it like produces more?
It produces a lot.
Definitely.
Just like one plant.
Just one plant.
Oh.
Like we'll harvest like probably like 60 to 70 pounds in a single run through this whole farm.
Wow.
Just this tunnel.
Just this, yeah.
Are the leaves okay? Like they look kind of sad, but I assume it's just like hot.
It's just hot. So actually, the little shriveling it's just like the fluctuations in our temperatures. It doesn't mean that the plant is any stressed or not going to produce at all. It just doesn't look pretty.
Okay.
And it's
Don't
always
worry.
been around for a long time.
Yeah, it's been in the ground since mid-May.
Like, yeah.
Sean, are these
Yellow.
certain varieties?
It's called a New Girl,
Okay.
which is an early variety of tomato. So that's what I was saying before, is that we put our earlier tomatoes in the tunnels so that so that we get tomatoes early in the season, and they overlap our field tomatoes, and then our field tomatoes carry us out throughout the rest of the season. So that when we have a ton of like heirlooms and whatnot, we can pull this stuff down and turn this tunnel over and get it ready for winter.
Okay. And can you grow the heirlooms this way?
Mm-hmm.
You could.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any indeterminate
Variety.
tomato.
Okay.
Yeah, variety you can. It's just a smaller fruit I would recommend that
Rather
has the
than
clusters,
Yeah.
because it's not going to be as heavy. Like you get those giant brainy ones.
Yeah.
That might be a little too much.
And then do you just keep one main stem? Like you just keep
Yeah.
the suckers, you just cut them off?
I just kind of, at this point, I let the suckers go. But, yeah, we were pretty rigid on pruning our suckers at the beginning.
Right. I know, I tried to do this lesson. All right, so Sean's the farmer, I'm the crafter. I like to make things. So I like to take things like his tomatoes and then turn them into sauce. So this time of year, whether it's your garden or going to a farm right now, they are just loaded with food. Like I said, everybody gets a parting gift to go home of a zucchini. So the question is, how are you going to save that stuff so that you're not, we possibly can't eat all this zucchini right now and we can't eat all these tomatoes. So good thing to do is how do you, preserve them? So I'm going to show you guys, we're going to make pickles together at the end. But just I'll talk a little bit before that. Tomatoes. So sometimes farmers, like Farmer Sean, it has so many tomatoes that you can get a really good deal on them. So you're paying less per pound that you can take home and process them. Now this isn't something that I would do outside here. When you're going to do canning, this is an awesome book. It's also in that handout that kind of goes over how to process all different types of vegetables, but also meats. When we're canning tomatoes, tomatoes are a high acid food. So high acid foods, when I process them, this can sit out in my pantry. It doesn't have to be, in a refrigerator. It gets cooked basically in boiling water. This entire can, after I made my sauce, this entire can then sat in a big tub of boiling water for about 40 minutes. After 40 minutes and letting it cool for about a day, that thing on top, the dimple on top is completely closed down. This I don't have to worry about getting sick. To make these tomatoes, you usually are going to skin them first. So I will actually take this tomato, put a little X on the bottom with a knife. I'll put it in boiling water for a minute. The skin will start to come off. Then I make my son put it in cold water to kind of stop that heating part. And then we peel it, and then we use a knife and we core it. Some people take the seeds out. I just left the seeds in it. Then all those tomatoes go into another pot with my basil, my garlic, and different seasoning. I cook that all up, and then once these jars are ready to go, they get citric acid gets added to it, and then they can get canned. You could do this same thing with making jellies. Jellies are also something that you could do in just boiling water. If you're doing beans, who said they had too many green beans? You had too many green beans? Somebody had too many beans. No? But beans, you have to actually pressure cook them. There's a whole different method depending on the acidity of the food. For pickles, if you want to make pickles to sit out on the counter, it's the same thing as the tomatoes. But we're going to make them today, and you can just leave them in the fridge. Other ways to preserve food besides putting them in a can, you can freeze them. I like to do this with herbs. I'll take parsley, or I'll take cilantro or basil, chop it up in a food processor with a little bit of olive oil, and then I have a cheap ice cube tray, and I can put little, tiny, it's like a tablespoon, each little thing of that fresh herb, that I can enjoy that, later on in the winter. I can also freeze tomatoes. I've done freezing tomatoes as well. Some other foods, like drying them. So there's some that you could dry. The herbs, things like rosemary and sage, can actually get dried out instead of getting, chopped up and put into a freezer. Let's see. Other things that are good. Beans and peas are also good for freezing as well. So that's just something for canning. And like I said, we'll come back to the pickles. So I gave you guys a couple of recipes on here. So moving on to page 2, how to dry the herbs in the oven. That's an easy way. How to freeze them in cubes. We'll come back to the pickles. And you can pickle anything, which we'll talk about as well. So there's another thing in there for just taking, things you have left over in the garden that you can put in a brine. How to freeze tomatoes, canned tomatoes. And then a couple other recipes for zucchini. But then towards the last page, so I'm a crafter, holiday gifts, things like that. So I like to, make things from stuff I get at the farm over the summer. Like I may end up giving this as a gift. I'll put a nice bow on there. It's got a nice little label. I've made like wrapping paper by taking either vegetables or potatoes, and I have kids, so we do lots of things together. Making stamps out of those as well. I've made lip balm, bath bombs, and you add little herbs in there and things like that to make them nice. Making nice labels of things. And also saving seeds. So not now because there's not too many seeds, but as we get a little later in the season, all these flowers are going to have seed pods that I'll collect those seeds and, put them in a cute little seed packet for somebody to take as a gift as well. These were kind of fun. I did them with my kids just with dried beans to make little ornaments. Okay. So just, some fun things that you can do with all these things from the farm. But what I want to do next is actually have you guys make some pickles. If you did it before and you don't want to do it again, you can certainly go home. If you want to make another jar, I have enough jars. But I will ask that people need to go wash their hands. So we have 2 sinks back here. And then we're going to set up the supplies for you guys for making the pickles. Okay? So you can leave your papers there. If you guys want to come wash your hands, I'm going to set up cutting boards and knives and get all the supplies that you need. You going to do it again, Barb?
Sure.
All right.
I enjoyed it.
They're tasty.
And, oh, yes.
Yeah. You going to make them again?
Are we going to do pickles?
Or if you want to pickle the zucchini, you could do that.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Want to try that?
Zucchini, yeah, maybe let's do that.
Try
Yeah, let's.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a good one this time.
Oh, really? You got real life this time?
Yeah, we don't have many real knives. Where would I find that dill, Sean?
Oh, I'll grab it. Oh, this time I'll put more though because last time.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's got a bunch of it this time. Oh, and I need the cucumbers, too.
I wasn't sure how I would because dill is something I don't just.
Right. Do you guys want to find, you can, somebody could work at this table. And we can work at this table if you want. I'll move this stuff. This one over here. And then you can take one of these stickers to put on your jar. Sean, where can I find all the cucumbers?
All right, I'm gonna rinse off this dill.
Oh, okay.
Can you come here?
Yeah. So, do you want to do cucumber?
I don't know.
Cucumbers are good for the pickle. These guys did it last time, so they're going to do something different. Want to try a zucchini?
Sure.
Here's your dill.
All right. So take like 2 sprigs of dill.
Look,
Come in.
just
I take another one.
another one.
Yeah. Once you touch it, it's yours.
Yeah.
Right? Yep, that's good. Just keep those off to the side. Take some dill.
You done?
Yep. Yeah, that's a good one. Then, you know what? I would cut that, like, bottom part off. Yeah. You want to take some dill? Good. Oop. And then she needs dill.
Does everybody get one cucumber?
Yeah, maybe one or two. But probably start with one, and then if we need a second one. I think Barb's going to do the and Kishore are going to do the zucchini. So pickling involves making a brine. That's how you turn any vegetable into, you know, this is fermentation, basically.
Yeah, fermentation.
And fermenting it. So the brine, and there are so many different recipes for different brines. Like some people like those sweet bread and butter pickles, which have a sugar in them and things like that. The brine that I made for your pickles is just a plain old white vinegar and kosher salt and water. They do sell in the grocery store. It's called pickling salt. You can't just use regular salt. I mean, you can, but regular salt has something in it called anti-caking agents that make the brine really kind of like cloudy in color. This stuff, when it dissolves, it's totally clear. So it's nice for that pickling. All right. So in order to make, does everybody have cucumber? And everybody's got some dill. And then we need the last part of our recipe, which is garlic. So Sean's going to come around and give you guys a head of garlic. But while you're waiting, what do I do with my, oh, here it is. You're going to take your cucumber, and the knives are not the best, but they'll cut. I do a lot of kid programs, so I have like kid-friendly knives. So when you're going to make a cucumber into a pickle, some people slice them into like little chips. So they just kind of slice them like this. You could do that. You could slice it into the shape of a spear, which is where I take my cucumber, I cut off the ends. I'm going to cut it in half. And then I'm going to cut it in half again. And I'm actually going to cut this so it kind of gets cut into 8 parts.
We're short an 8.
What are we short?
A 9.
Oh. Take mine. Here, tell you what. Let me finish cutting mine, and he can have this really nice one. This is your special knife that I think I walked away with one time. A knife. So cut off the end. The one thing with the you want to make sure they're going to fit in the jar that you have. So we have to make sure that those spears are shorter. So like this one's too big right now. I'd have to cut off a little bit. I would probably just cut it off and eat a little bit. Yep. How are those knives? I know they're not the best, but they do cut.
They're fine. They'll do the job. They got it.
And then the garlic is going to get smashed. We want to take that skin off the garlic. Those look good. So I usually just use the knife, fingers. How we doing, all right? All right, don't put them in just yet. We're going to put some things in the bottom of the jar before we put the cucumbers in. So once I have everything kind of cut up, I'll start by putting the garlic and my dill in the bottom. Just some of that dill in the bottom of the jar. Did you want the spices from last time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melting more of it this time.
Huh? Want more?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
And then if you guys want, so like this is a pickling spice. It's a mixture of like mustard seed, anise seed, bay leaf. Uh-oh. Did I walk too far away? It's got like cloves.
Perfect.
Yeah. Do you want to try the spice in there too?
Yeah.
It's a little flavor. So I usually put that in there. Now you can start loading up those cucumbers. Yeah. Stuff again. Yep.
Beautiful.
Do you want to try this little mixture?
Yeah,
Some like spices.
we got to do that.
Yeah. How's getting the garlic going? And the garlic, like you could either put it in whole, you could smash it, you could cut it, do whatever you want to do with the garlic. Yeah. Yep. Oh, did I give you this? Oh, yeah. And then you can start putting all those cucumbers. And if you still have like space in yours, does anybody still have like, I can give her more. Do you have space in there, the ones you cut up? Because you like to like really get them in there.
I ate a couple of them. I guess that's the space.
We got more cucumbers. Oh, we took the cucumbers. It went away.
I'm being efficient here.
So if you've gotten to the point where you have cucumbers in your jar, you have some dill, you have garlic in there, then the last thing that has to happen is the brine. So I made this before you guys got here. So making a brine, basically all you're doing is bringing water, vinegar, and the salt to a boil so that the salt dissolves. Once it boils, you turn it off and just kind of let it sit for a little bit. I will ask if you come up here versus me coming to you with a hot liquid, that'd probably be the best idea. But you can bring your jar and your lid to me and I'll fill it up with the brine. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm going to use my special tool that I have. So, this is an awesome tool for canning. And usually when I'm making my sauce and stuff like that, it'll go down. I'm not going to put it down into these jars because they're all yours. But I would basically put this funnel down into the jar, and it keeps me from getting the food, whatever I'm jarring all over the place. All right. So now you can put a cap on that. Awesome. So this recipe, I made probably enough brine to do about 8 jars of pickles. So the recipe that you guys got will do quite a few. And then these pickles, so these, they're not going to go into like a water bath canner. If I wanted to make them so that they could sit on the shelf, I would then take all these jars and I would stick them in boiling water. And I think pickles might be about 20 minutes to process. But these, you're going to just take them home and put them right in the refrigerator. And then by tomorrow, they're going to start to taste like pickles. The longer you let them sit, the more like pickly they'll taste. You said you tried doing stuff or no?
Yeah, so I pickled last week.
All right.
I have some questions for you. So
Oh, yeah.
I can ask that.
We put them in this orange basket right here.
Yeah, we'll give them to the chickens. Get a little more in there. All right. Awesome. Oh, yeah.
No, this mix was delicious.
It was good, right? It's just a
Yes,
very
we're almost
simple.
finished them, and it was really good.
Yeah.
But I think your spice mix made the difference.
The what?
The spice mix.
Oh yeah. I think you can find that in the store.
Really?
See now this comes from out by my mom in like Lancaster County, but I've seen it. Like they,
Is it just called Pickling Spice?
yeah, I'm pretty sure they make one.
Okay.
In the same section where they have all the jars and everything, they have the same thing. Yeah.
Not really, no.
This is so hot. Oh yay! They're so pretty.
It's like a wait off the
Oh yeah, they look good. Now the zucchini, I would wait a little longer.
Oh, really? Then cucumber.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'll take a little longer to soak in that like flavor.
So 3
I
or 4
think.
days.
Yeah.
So my biggest question is like, so I did canning last week. The first time ever I did pickles.
Okay.
Like I'm not gonna give myself botulism, right? Like I did everything
No.
according to like I followed the USDA's
Like the
canning recipe.
that's more of an issue like doing meats
Okay.
and even like green beet, like the low acid foods that have to go through like a pressure canner. Those are the ones that have the higher chance of botulism. So
I was also wanting to buy like a canning book, but I didn't know which one to buy.
This one.
That one's
I
really good.
love this book. And I don't even, they do have it on Amazon. This I found in like a store, you know, like years ago. Oh, I'm sure. This is pretty old. Like I've had it for a few years.
There are older version too. They're like
Oh,
selling the classic
yeah.
ones from 100 years ago for like $100.
Oh my gosh. It's just,
treasure right there.
it is. I'm like, mine's not, it's not that old. It's probably from like 2000, you know, or something.
I think there's one more version after this.
Yeah, so they talk about like the temperatures that you worry about botulism. The one thing, like pressure canning, I've only done it like once or twice because it scares the crap out of me. Because I'm always afraid. Like I have one of these big like canners, a pressure canner, but I'm always afraid it's gonna like blow up or
So I have
something.
an instant pot.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Right. You could probably do
would
it
not
in
trust
there.
the instant pot with that though, because
Okay.
you need like the pressure gauge.
Yeah.
But
most of the things I've done, I will do like the water bath. So it's just boiling water for, you know, what, and I go by whatever time they say on here. Did you try them yet?
no.
Okay.
I haven't. I was gonna wait to see if they like pop up.
Oh, right. They would have popped up by now, usually.
In a week.
The one thing so I've done pickles like this where they go in the fridge, and then I've done it where I then can them with the water and everything. And I can't seem to get them nice and crispy when I.
Apparently it's supposed to be like a lye or a lime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like the USDA's guideline.
Yeah.
Have it in it, but
To make it more crispy
Yeah.
that way. I like them. We eat these garlic pickles like this. So by tomorrow, they'll start to taste like a pickle. Like they'll be ready to eat. Within 2 days, they taste like a new pickle. The longer they sit, they get more vinegary, more garlicky as time goes on. But my family, we eat them right away. And then I actually take that same pickling juice and I'll put like a fresh cucumber in there and let it sit for like another day. So I'll use that same brine like twice. And just keep them in the fridge. They're just in the fridge for these that I do. Other canning questions? Yeah, like I said, this is a great
I have
book.
a couple others.
Oh yeah,
So,
go
like,
ahead.
So I didn't feel like I probably should have packed my jars like you did, but I didn't. I left like some extra room. Just
Yeah.
that's what I did. So then like some are floating now, and the headspace kind of went down a little bit.
Well, sometimes the headspace goes down because as it's like doing that canning thing, like you're losing.
So that's I started with the right amount of headspace. to begin
Yes,
with.
that's all that matters. Because then what happens is, you're basically, all the air is coming out of that jar, but the food sometimes shrivels up a little bit,
Yeah.
so it does good. Like that, my tomatoes, when I made them, it was definitely higher than this.
Okay.
But
So
after
that's
canning, it went down.
And then some of my pickles are floating still. Like there's some are in the air. That's probably.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, they're like not in the liquid?
They're not in the liquid.
It's probably okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So fine.
Right? Don't you think?
Okay.
I think that's okay.
Yeah.
Pickles are not something that people get, like, botulism comes from like the meats and stuff like that, like those foods. This has been like fermented, which changed the acidity, like, so it's not going to be as big of a source of getting sick. But I know it is scary the first time you do. Like, I don't want to make somebody sick.
Like,
Like, once
Right.
you, like, learn what happens.
Right.
you're like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Cool.
Any other questions on canning or ways to gardening? Yes.
Sauerkraut.
Oh, that's a Sean question because he's made that. I have not.
The top of it, I stuck it in the brine, but the top of it turned a little brown. Do I have to, even under the...
you want to keep that sauerkraut submerged.
Yep.
What I've done in the past is I've taken a non-cut up cabbage leaf
Yep.
and stuck that on top,
Okay.
and then put my weight or my cheesecloth on top of that, and then that as a vapor barrier. And then when it looks like it's fermented enough where I'm going to eat it, I just take that piece out.
And you've
put it in
never
my
had the
fridge.
top turn brown?
No, but you could skim it off.
Okay.
Yeah, just skim it off.
Okay. I didn't know if I had something dangerous.
It
going
must have
on.
oxidized. It must. It had. It obviously was in contact with the air and oxidized.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
why it turned brown. That's my only thing. What else?
This book has instructions on freezing as well.
Oh yeah, it goes over freezing. It goes over dehydrating.
Oh, good.
So what I like to do with the tomatoes for freezing them is I'll do that whole first thing where you boil, you peel the skins, you core them, and then I'll stick them in a freezer bag and kind of like lay it flat and like press out the air, and then I'll keep it in the freezer that way. I've done that, just like a big gallon freezer bag.
I don't want to remove the peel. I can just do it as it is as well, right?
You can, but I don't know, like, because then when you defrost it, you'll have to, like, get that skin off of it.
Yeah.
It's good practice to get skin off.
Okay.
Unless you're making sauce. I don't do it when I'm making sauce because I'm immersion blending the whole thing.
Right.
But
That's my question. When I put it in my cooking, like Indian cooking, I don't peel
Oh, okay.
remove the peel. It just like goes into
Yeah.
like, the stew or whatever I'm making.
And then just,
So I was wondering. So yeah.
oh, if you're not peeling it, then it should be fine. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I guess I can do that with the canning as well. Like score them and then instead of going through the process of peeling, I can
Long as they're like in a liquid, so they have to, in like the tomato juice or the water, like if you're gonna do it that way and can it.
or put like hot water and then
Yeah.
go through the canning process. Okay. Yeah.
What tomato recipe is that? Because that's like a lighter color.
You know what it is? I think it's because these tomatoes, they're not like the whatever Roma, like plum.
yeah.
It's because of the tomatoes I used. Like these aren't like deep red inside, like most tomatoes that like people typically would can, like the Roma tomatoes are a deeper red than these. So that's the only reason. I know it looks like a vodka sauce or something, but
Did you
Yeah.
immersion blend it?
I did.
Okay.
Hmm.
I have a bunch of plum tomatoes I'm growing, just canned, but they're not turning red yet. So I might just have to buy some from someone.
I said, yeah, like usually in like September when there's too many, like if it's getting close to like frost, like we have to get all the tomatoes off the plants and we got to get rid of them. Like we have to sell. So that's usually a big time for canning too. And lately we've had a lot of tomatoes, so I took a bunch. So I had 11 pounds of tomatoes made 4.5 jars this size. So this is a quart jar. So it takes a lot of tomatoes.
That's a lot of tomatoes. Oh my gosh. I only have like 8 tomato plants. I was planning to do like, I guess not.
It takes a lot.
That's a lot of tomatoes.
Come by like.
Yeah, come by from him.
Okay. I'll get that in a couple weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it'll be like $1. It'll be $25 for 25 pounds, and that'll make 25 pounds. Will get you probably 10 of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
10 of those.
Oh yeah, I'll come talk to you next Tuesday.
Yeah.
My flight just went right out
Yeah.
the window.
What else? Any other things? Or gardening? No.
The question is, when exactly we can start to cover the garden? What month?
September.
Oh,
A
September.
couple weeks.
Or
Next week.
Next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, next week.
Oh my God. Oh, and then next week, or actually this week too, the plant sale is that's this weekend.
That's this weekend.
So if you want any plants for your fall garden, come here from 10 to 2. and we have
I found
all those plants for sale. And we have fig trees too.
Yeah.
You have arugula?
No, but you could just.
That's
buy a
really-
arugula seed and
Just put that. That's seed. We seed that. It's,
Okay.
Yeah, that's easy to just seed and it'll